Hey everyone, we're so excited to be with you at reInvent today. Thank you for joining us. We are really looking forward to talking with you about what's launched with AWS Amplify this week. So my name is Jenna Pederson, and I'm a Senior Developer Advocate for AWS. And I have with me today Kris Howard, Developer Advocate and Manager of Developer Advocates. And then I also have Rene Brandel, Senior Product Manager with AWS Amplify. Hi, Kris.
Hey, how are
Hi,
you? How are you going?
Good. So for those of you watching us at home, if you have any questions that you'd like to get answered, Nikhil will be on our Twitter account at AWS on Air, and you can ask your questions there to get them answered. And if we won't get to them live today, but we'll catch up with you afterward. So before we jump in to the new AWS Amplify updates, let's talk a little bit about what it's like to build a web or mobile app as a front-end web or mobile developer today. Both Kris and I, we've built front-end web and mobile apps before, and that landscape, it's constantly changing. So Rene, talk us through what is involved in building a front-end web app and how do people do that today?
Yeah, so actually, many of the front-end developers obviously really focus on the user experience and the user interface of the application, right? But too often they find themselves needing actually to add cloud backend features, and they dive into infrastructure code that they're not really most familiar with. And then once the application is built, they also have to deal with like hosting a website, for instance, and even building maybe another like back office kind of a tool. So all of these things can sometimes feel very dispersed for a front end developer.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as Jenna mentioned, Rene, we've talked to a lot of developers. We've both been developers, and you really, as a developer, want to be focused on building engaging user experiences, not on back-end tools and how to use them. So, what are we doing here at AWS to help developers do that?
Well, yeah, so AWS really offers a pretty comprehensive set of products to support mobile and web developers really of all kinds, right? So we've got a stellar set of tools for Android, iOS, those native platforms, but also really popular web frameworks like React, Vue, Angular, and so on and so forth, right? And what we want to make sure of is to really provide the best tools for these front-end developers with any degree of skill sets with the cloud, right? So really help them to get to market faster with AWS. So the AWS Amplify team is really put together a set of tools and services that help you develop your backend, connecting to it, and then delivering your app to your customers on a global scale, and then also giving you the ability to manage it once it is in production.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about Amplify. Who's using it? How does Amplify make development for developers easier and faster for us today?
Yeah, so Amplify is really used by front-end developers, right? And that means front-end mobile and web developers really whenever you're focused on the user experience. As I mentioned earlier, Amplify really helps with the development part, the delivery, and the management part. So let's break that down a little bit. On the development part, we provide a Amplify CLI toolchain and a new admin UI that we're announcing today to allow you to create your backend in a very, very simple way, in a basic, in a use case centric way, if you will, right? And then once your backend is created, you can connect to them using the Amplify libraries. So the Amplify libraries can work with Amplify provision backends or any existing AWS services that you already have. And it's a use case centric library. That means you really worry about authentication, not necessarily the underlying services. Mm-hmm. We handle, for instance, refresh tokens, all that stuff for you, right? We also provide a wide range of UI components. You can just drop in and it connects up automatically with Cognito in the background, and you instantly have, for instance, auth in your app. And then once you have built your app, we also help you with the delivery of it. So if you have a web app, we have a really a fully managed static web hosting service. Allows you to deploy your React, your Vue apps, and so on and so forth, right? And we provide a full CI/CD system out of the box. So you just give us the Git repo. We'll build a new site every time you have a new commit. We can also do feature branch builds and so on and so forth to really get that super high customer feedback loop built up for you. And you can do all of that without ever having to worry about S3 bucket policies or configuring CloudFront, just making sure all those settings are configured properly, right? Or building out even a pipeline. So that's really where Amplify can help out on the delivery part, really helping you get your application up until a global scale within minutes, right? And then the last part, which is this new capability that we're also announcing today, which is the Amplify Admin UI, that allows you to now also introspect your database to a degree, so you can actually look at your application's content. For instance, if you have a blog, you can actually inline edit the blogs from there, and then you can also manage your users and user groups right from the Admin UI.
That's so cool. And I know everybody's really excited to see this, but before you do, I just want to say one of the things I find so cool about Amplify is it's a collection of open source projects. And we had a lot of cool open source announcements yesterday as well in the keynote. And I think both Jenna and I know contributors to Amplify that don't actually work for AWS or for Amazon. So how does it being open source, how does that help you as a team build better features for our customers?
Yeah, so the community really gets to contribute in multiple dimensions to our product, right? And that does not only mean in terms of the roadmap by filing GitHub issues with us with feature requests and RFCs and whatnot, but also people have written code. So if you put that on a dimension scale, we have people just fix up typos in our documentation, which I thank you a lot for, as well as the Oxford comma fixes. And then also we have people who have built full-featured Amplify CLI plugins, for instance, right? So really, if you look at this landscape of open source, it allows us to connect with our customers in such a more deeper and meaningful way to really, in a way, build Amplify with the community together.
Yeah, that sounds really awesome, and it's really it allows us to be more customer obsessed. So in a minute here, you're going to do a demo for us, but first, tell us. Okay, so Amplify is making it easier for developers to build and deploy apps. So tell us what just launched at reInvent.
Yeah, so we just launched the Amplify Admin UI. So it is a new visual interface for you to develop your backend. So you can visually model your data model, right, and deploy it with a few clicks. And then you can also set up authentication, like how users sign in and sign up. And then the other part of it is the management part of it, which allows you to for instance, manage the database's content, right? So you can, if you have a blog, you can actually edit inline or access its users and so on and so forth. And my favorite, last but not least, is the ability to actually invite non-AWS account holders to your backend. So if you have non-technical team members that want to just look into your backend and use it as a back office tool, we provide a notion for that now. Yeah.
So cool.
That's great. Okay, so let's pull up the demo, and you're going to show us what just launched at reInvent.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the new Amplify Admin UI, and if I click Get Started, I basically get a couple of features that I can click on. So I can get started with data, authentication, and storage. And with data, I can really get started without even an AWS account. So in a way, this is a zero to hero experience that we're going to do.
Ooh.
I like that. Love it.
So let me pick a to-do list example here. We're going to build a pet office registry application. So let me rename this to-do field to maybe like a pet or something like that. And as you can see, basically these model names, you can think of them as tables, and I can add different fields, which are like columns for your tables. All of this is obviously still backed by DynamoDB and AppSync, right? Okay. And from here, I can go and basically test this locally in my application. I'm going to build a React app just because I already built some UI for it. So here's my UI. I can click Next. And then from here, I get some instructions to create a React app. I can skip that. Next step is to use the Amplify CLI to actually pull down all the sandbox information. So I get to install it first, but I already have it installed. So I'm just going to go and copy the command and paste it into my terminal right now. Copy, paste, there we go. And what happens here is it will now download all the sandbox information that we looked at a couple moments earlier. And it basically creates a local Amplify base project in your React application source code, which is all the files that Amplify needs to have to function locally without an AWS account even. So you see a few things have happened. I've got this AWS exports file, which has all my AWS configurations. I've got a fully type definitioned version of my database backend model. And this is really something that's impressive about Amplify. We provide a object-oriented way to interface with your cloud backend. That means we can easily have a super native offline experience, but also if you connect it to the cloud, it will automatically sync. And you don't have to worry about network requests and whatnot. And then this is my UI code. Let me just, we'll get into that in a second. So the next step, now that I have pulled in all my local information, is to actually just install the Amplify libraries and initialize Amplify. I'm going to copy the initialization code in here and paste it into my index.js file. There you go. And then, now that this is all initialized, I can actually start using the Amplify library within my code base. Now, what kind of code should I write for these CRUD operations? Well, we provide a handy code generator for you. So you don't even have to read documentation, even though we do encourage that. So let me go and copy the imports, because I always forget the imports and always get them wrong. So I just basically copy paste that, and then I can look at the code. Okay, so it's await data store dot query. So let me just type that. And in here, basically, I just query for the pets. It's super object oriented. That's really what we want to enable. Now let me copy the code for creation. So let me go down to my app.js to create new pet. There you go. I'm going to cheat a little bit by just not writing UI code and just do a window.prompt. So let me select all these things. That's like the ultimate demo cheat code.
MVP.
So exactly, MVP, name, address, and the building. So now let's test our UI code. So let's go and register a new pet to our building. So my dog is Pixel. He's a super cute golden doodle. And the address that we are at is 1-800 9th Avenue. That's the Amazon Alexandria building. There you go. And so basically, let me go and register a second dog as well. But really what is happening here is I basically created a local storage solution that I can later on connect to AWS if this is really the right set of API fit that I desire for my application. So really a good way to get started, try it out before even signing up for an AWS account. Yeah. So let me go back to the sandbox. So from here, I can now deploy to AWS. There's two paths if you have an AWS account or not. I, for obvious reasons, have an AWS account. So from here, it is super simple. You just provide a name for your application and you hit one-click deploy. That's it. I'm going to switch to a different tab here. We've already deployed backend, so we don't have to wait for the loading spinner to go on, and talk a little bit about Amplify. So Amplify creates an app for you in the AWS console, which is really a all-encompassing mission control for your front end and your backend environments. So your front end is the web hosting thing that we touched upon a little bit earlier. But now really what's net new is this Amplify admin UI. So this Amplify admin UI allows you to manage all these backends, and they work with this existing Amplify backends infrastructure as code paradigm. So all of the Amplify apps are actually underneath the hood CloudFormation. That means we can do some really, really cool stuff like cloning an environment. So for instance, I have a staging environment, just click clone and production, and there you go. I basically went ahead and just cloned my entire backend, and so I have two different environments to play with, right? But I do want to go and just really showcase the Amplify admin UI a little bit. You'll see this new button here. I'm going to click into that, and welcome to our fancy new way to visually develop and manage your application. So a couple of things we can do here. We can obviously view the data model that we already have. So let's click into that. There you go. And you can also go back home and manage the app content, which I briefly touched upon earlier. So I go in here. Let me create the subsample data. So let me just create in. What do I do here? Yeah. So create pet. There you go. And it's hard to think of a dog name on the spot. Like Rudolph is a good name. I haven't done this demo too often that I can guess names now.
It's festive. Yeah.
Exactly. So and I literally only know one Amazon office address, which is Alexandria building. Okay, cool. So it's a super lightweight back office kind of management tool that you have there. And obviously we also support a little bit more than that. We also allow you to visually configure your authentication settings, for instance, and how users log in or sign up, right? And once you have that set up, you can also manage the users and groups.
Cool.
Okay, cool. So now let's actually try to connect our application with this new cloud backend. So let me just copy the command to pull it down again, right? So it's going to ask me a couple of questions just to make sure that some of the assumptions we've made on behalf of the customers are correct. There you go. I'm going to hit yes. And this will take just a second. There we go. So now if I go back to my VS Code, you'll see that I have a new AWS Express file with all the GraphQL endpoints, the API keys, and whatnot to actually start interfacing with this application. So now let me refresh it. It should clear all my local information. Let me refresh this again, and Rudolph should pop up there. See? So there you go. We've got cloud syncing basically enabled with just one command. Now let me add a new dog and just see that synced up two-way as well. So up into the management console. So I just added Pixel. Now I go back to the admin UI and click on Manage App Content. Okay, and there you go. So yeah, basically this is a super easy way for you to get started. And the other thing I want to show you is actually give you the ability to manage this content without even having an AWS account. So let me go to the Amplify console again and click on the admin UI management button on the left-hand side here. Here I can basically invite team members who don't even have AWS accounts. So I click invite user, and I can have Rene, the marketing guy, who should not maybe have like access to deploy stuff. So they will only have manage only access.
Wow.
You can see it's just a random Gmail, so you can actually invite really anyone without even an AWS account. So they will only see the user, the content management and the users and groups pane, right? So everything else on the backend will be obfuscated for them.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then the other thing here is like that many customers tell us that they build two applications, one for the user facing and one back office tool. And this is really just a super simple mechanism for our customers to get there much faster by saving the time on this back office tool and just really focus on the user facing application. The other thing I want to show you is actually the other access level. So you can actually invite Rene, the developer guy at gmail.com with full access to your backend. So so that means that developer can, even without an AWS account, deploy changes to your backend because you granted them the permissions to do so. And the notion that we want to drive here is that you only really need one main AWS account holder. Everybody else, if you want to just pull somebody in to debug something, this is a great way to do that. Or if you want to share your app with a client in the consultancy, this is another good way of doing that. The last but not least thing is also I want to show that if you're an existing customer and you're familiar with the Amplify CLI, you can basically just keep on using the Amplify admin UI as a 100% compatible thing. So there's really nothing new to learn. So if I, for instance, want to add storage, and that's really something that we don't have visual experience for just yet, you can just copy the instructions here, look at, for instance, the Amplify CLI commands, and just use them as you would normally do. So super compatible with all of our existing customers. Now, this is now going to go a little bit out of the admin UI part, but I just do want to show you how quickly you can actually go ahead and deploy your application to the cloud. Because this demo I think was like is now in like 10 minutes or something like that. But I really want to show you that within less than 2 minutes you can actually deploy your application to a global scale. So let me go to my terminal and just run yarn build, which is the build command for React. So it's going to package everything up within a folder. And I'm going to go to my Amplify console, go to the front end environment, and deploy without a Git provider. Here, all I have to do literally is to just drag and drop my build folder into the console. So let me just open the Finder here and use the trusty drag and drop. There you go. And I hit deploy, and this is literally it. So what is happening now in the background is we're hosting your React app. We're automatically provisioning you a subdomain under the amplifyapp.com level domain, and you don't have to worry about bucket policies, CloudFront configurations, SSL certificates, or anything like that. And a few seconds later, our app is now globally available. So you can see this is now a real life domain that you can go to yourself as well to access this application. Let me just refresh to see. Yeah, and there you go. All of our cloud data is actually starting syncing down. There's really so much more to see actually to this. We only have very little time, but really AWS Amplify is about getting it done for your development, delivery, and app management needs.
Love it.
Yeah, this is awesome.
So cool.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm really excited about these changes because it is going to enable not only me but all of you out there to be able to build your apps a lot quicker and get to market a lot quicker. So how does this work for apps that have already been built with Amplify?
Yeah, good question. So apps that have already been built by Amplify can all take advantage of the Amplify admin UI. All you have to do is go to the Amplify console and literally flip a switch, and we're going to go and provision the admin UI for you, so you get all those nice management capabilities right out of the box here.
Okay, excellent. That's awesome. So are there any other, or can you share about any customers that are using Amplify in production and maybe some an example of the value that they've seen so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So the United Way Orange County actually used Amplify to build a production-ready application for their COVID-19 response. And they basically used Amplify to build a application to approval to fund processing app within 3 weeks. And that really reduced their overall call time queues and other traditional systems that would have been overloaded, right? So I think it really showcases that Amplify is the obvious tool set of choice when time to market is actually mission critical.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
Now, I know you and your team, you've just had this huge release. Well done, mate. Well done. But the question that everybody is asking is what's next? What's coming? What features are you gonna add that you can share with us, maybe?
Yeah, so one of the best parts here actually is because Amplify has so many different open source projects, we actually have a GitHub repo for the Amplify admin UI. So you can write your RFCs there, you can file your issues there, right? And just like you do with any other Amplify project. And again, we really use GitHub as our main way to prioritize. So if you want to know what's next, you can actually be part of what's next.
All right.
That's awesome. Can you share a little bit about how pricing works for Amplify?
Yeah, so the Amplify admin UI comes at no additional charge, right? So you essentially just pay for the underlying services that you would do anyway, like DynamoDB or AppSync and so on and so forth, right? So all the backend feature capabilities is really something we just want to provide added value on so you can get to market faster. You can also check out our pricing for our hosting service. So all of that is on our homepage, amplify.aws. So just go there and there's lots of good resources there.
Awesome. Okay, so that's about all the time that we have for today. What else is coming up this week for AWS Amplify? Yeah,
so we've actually got 2 Twitch streams where I'll have much more time to demo all of this live.
Yeah.
It will be an hour-long Twitch stream tomorrow, 10 a.m. PST, and on Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. PST. And both of these time frames, I'll be coding a PupperDex application live. It's the Pokedex for puppies. If you follow me on Twitter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so it's on Twitch. So go to twitch.tv/AWS on Thursday, 10 a.m. and Friday, 1 p.m.
Excellent. I don't know about you, Kris, but I'm really looking forward to diving into this and checking it out.
So many ideas. So many ideas.
Yeah.
Well, it's super easy to get started. Just go to amplify.aws and click Get Started, and you get to play with it.
Excellent. So thank you, Rene, for sharing all this with us, and thanks to everyone else out there for joining in. You can catch the rest of the AWS on-air streams right here at the same URL. You can get keynote recaps, service launch, deep dives just like this one, customer interviews, industry roundups, interactive game shows, and more. So thank you.
Have a great reInvent.
Thank you.